for liftoff in T-30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
Well, I don't. It's live. I can't say live TV. It's live YouTube. Hey, welcome to Minnesota Black Robe Regiment. I am the host, TC. For those of you that have never tuned in, that's right there. Is I don't know what to tell you, folks. Before we get going too far, like, comment, and share. Put this out to your friends, family, neighbors. Especially if you have neighbors in law enforcement. I want them to watch this. If you have friends in law enforcement, I want them to watch this. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to make this pretty brief by way of introductions. But I do know that there are going to be people who are watching that have never watched before, and they're here because people like Brandon Mitchell and Flex Your Freedoms and BCNN and others are sending them here to watch. And so if you guys are like, okay, what's a Minnesota Black Robe Regiment? Like, first of all, Minnesota is a state, sort of. It's more like I call it Marxist soda. But Minnesota is a state. And Black Robe Regiment is not got anything at all to do with courts. That's the biggest question for all the people that have come over for the last month and a half is, what do you relate yourself to the judicial system, to the justice system, to the judges? Well, it's not a reference to that. It's a reference to back in the days leading up to the American War for Independence. It was not a revolution. It was a war for independence. It was pastors and churches, it was Christian men especially, who were leading the charge against the tyranny of King George. And it was so prevalent that the British commanders, generals and colonels and whatnot, got really upset about how strong of an influence the Christian churches in the colonies were having, and how the men who joined the fight that were colonials that followed their pastors into war were loyal fighters. They were just absolutely loyal fighters. And so they began to refer to those individuals in those units that had these colonial Christians in them as black-robed regiments. And it even went so far as getting back to King George, and King George said, I'm tired of this damned Presbyterian war. And so my philosophy is coming from a background predominantly of Christianity. It doesn't always show. I sometimes use very coarse language, but that's where I'm at. My adherence to natural rights, my belief in the natural rights of man to hold the state accountable, to throw off the chains and the yokes of oppressive tyranny and slavery, comes from my adherence to the early church of the United States and of the colonies and what it motivated people to do. So that's what the Black Robe Regiment is. I'm from Minnesota. I did a lot of coverage during 2020 and on about the tyranny in Minnesota. And so I just decided I was going to call the channel Minnesota Black Robe Regiment. It's now euphemistically known as MBRR Pod. So for those of you that are new and have no idea what any of this is about, that's who I am. And that's what my philosophy is kind of built on. And I cannot, for the life of me, stand Christians that have a blind adherence to the state and blindly support everything that law enforcement does, because we're Christians and we're supposed to. Drives me crazy. Drives me absolutely freaking nuts. And that's why this conversation tonight is so powerfully important to me. I was made aware of the story of Samantha and Nate from Bellevue, Nebraska, by Flex, who is in the chat right now. Thanks for stopping in, Flex. Thanks for sharing this out. And for there again, those of you who haven't gone over to Flex Your Freedoms and followed him, please do so. He's very much worth the follow. And he does things that I could never get away with because the man is funnier than I'll get out. And I would love for you to be introduced to Grandma and to some of the other characters that Flex hangs out with. So head over there if you haven't done so yet. And so anyway, Nate had reached out. I believe it was Nate reached out to Flex. And Flex shared the story. I headed over. I watched. I reached out to Nate right away. And I said, hey, look, I can't give you the kind of coverage that guys like Flex can. I can't give you the kind of coverage that guys like Brian from Here's the Deal can. But I could do something that a lot of other people don't do. I'll bring you on. I'll talk to you. And that's what we're doing. And this is their first ever interview. So we're not going to put them on the spot at all and make them nervous. I see Sam sitting in the background right now, grinning sheepishly. I told her I'm harmless, mostly. But we are going to put her undercover with Flex to go find Mingling. So I hope she doesn't mind. Might have to work some massage parlors, Sam, just so you're aware. But Flex, she is volunteering, just so you know. But yeah, that's what this channel's about. And we're going to bring them on in just a minute. And for those of you that haven't noticed so far, I have now added memberships to the channel. And so if you like the content, I know you do because you're here, but if you like the content and you want to see me be able to keep doing what I do in my particular way, my particular style, and you'd like me to be able to improve on that and, you know, get some new video equipment to go out and film or shoot video at city council meetings, county board meetings, school board meetings, and even doing some auditing. I'm planning on getting down and work with Flex and the guys down there in the Waterloo area here real soon. If you'd like to see me be able to have the good equipment to do that, memberships on their channel are a great way to do it. And the description of the memberships is under the membership tab. So if you haven't done so yet, go over there, check it out, pick a level of support. And if you prefer to get away from YouTube and you want to do something else, check out my Subscribe Star. Oh, hey, you know what? Flex, thank you very much. You're my very first member. All right, guys, meet the challenge. Flex is a member, my very first member. I think that means I have to kiss him or something now. I'll only kiss him if he's dressed as Grandma. How's that? Flex, I will only kiss you when you're going undercover as Grandma. There we go. Thank you so much for that, Flex. Oh, so without any further ado, we are going to bring in the star of the show. And let's be honest, Flex gives me a kiss back. That's wonderful. We're going to bring on the star of the show, Samantha, and then Nate's going to sit here and try and share the beauty of it. So, hello, guys.
Hi.
Don't. I swear I'm not going to bite. Relax. I'm totally harmless. So Sam, you recently had a very interesting experience in your hometown. Well, it's not. I don't know if it's your hometown, but where you call home now, you had a very interesting experience with the Bellevue Police Department on your own property.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. Is that out of character for you? Because you kind of went out there and were a little vocal, I might say.
Well, I'm very protective of my family, and my niece was the passenger in the car, and I knew she was terrified. So I was trying to...
Okay, wait a minute. Was she terrified before the cops got there? Or was she... Because the driver backed in to the driveway. They had time to back into the driveway. Which, by the way, somebody said, did you notice, have you ever seen anybody get pulled over in a driveway while they're backing up? And I'm like, actually, no, I haven't.
Yeah, that was insane.
So they had time to pull into the driveway by backing up. So they seemed like they must have been a pretty reasonable driver.
Yeah.
Yep, they actually had, when it started, from what they told me, they passed the cop not too far from our house, and the cop flashed his brights at him to do what normal people would do, and let you know, hey, shut him off. And then they said once he passed him, the cop turned around and just started following him with no lights or anything. Just followed him all the way to our house, and then
Well, So wait a minute. That's part I haven't heard. So they drove by this cop, and
Yep.
I know that his badge number is 331, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But we do know his name, correct?
Oh, yeah, it's on the page. I can't remember what it is offhand.
It's on the YouTube channel, and the links
First
to
group,
the
lieutenant. But
the links to the actual video and to the page are, if they're not yet, they will be in the description of the video after the show. I would strongly encourage you who haven't watched it to go watch it and then share it with everyone after you share this, of course, because I'm greedy and I want you to watch this. But so the driver of the car, who's not related to you, but your niece was riding with the driver,
Yep.
passes the cop. The cop flashes his brights at them, and so then they proceed, pull into the driveway or back into the driveway, and then the cop at this point turns around and pulls them over in your driveway.
Yep.
Okay. And one of your daughters was in the house and said, "Hey, what's going on? There's a cop outside."
Yep. That'd be
And
my
you go outside, and of course we've all learned a valuable lesson, by the way. If you have a home security system with a doorbell cam or a front camera, please make sure your batteries are working because
Yeah.
screw the smoke detector, screw the fire alarm, folks. Make sure you have batteries in your camera system. I'm just going to tell you that right now, or hardwire that son of a gun. So you did not capture the initial interaction where you stepped out. Now, which one of you said what first as you walked out before you started shooting video with your phones?
I believe that once he told us to go back inside, that's kind of what I guess got me to start going off. And she was just kind of following behind me and beside me, and then we started.
But you didn't say anything when you walked outside. He just turned around, looked at you, and told you to go back in the house.
Yep, said back in the house. It doesn't concern you. And then that, because of everything I've learned and watched and seen, that we're at our own house. He can't tell us what to do. So.
And we'll get there in just a minute. Keep that and remind me so we can talk about that. So your response to that was, no, I'm not going to go back in the house. 2, I'm going to start shooting video. Did he notice that you took your cameras out and were shooting video right away? Did he?
I think he did, because we both had we were like starting the cameras as we're going out the door. So he had to have seen the 2 cell phones in our hands. So.
Okay. So on a level of 1 to 10, with 1 being the most subdued and laid back and willing to converse and de-escalate, and 10 being irate and ready to go hands-on right away, what was his initial where would you say he was at initially, 1 to 10, as you came outside and he told you to go back inside? Was it kind of like semi-pleasant? Was it?
No.
I'd say
no. Sam's like, no.
He wasn't pleasant from the get-go.
Yeah, you could just by his tone of voice and ordering us back inside, you could tell that he was going to be one of those cops who thought he could make the law, basically. And then obviously once I told him, you can't give me unlawful orders, that got him going, and then back and forth match, and then he called for backup. So.
Yeah, because you guys are both very threatening. I just, I'm just absolutely, Sam, I'm actually terrified of you right now. I'm afraid. I'm terrified. Look, I don't know if I could handle you in a fight. It's a little freaky. So Now you know your niece is in the car, Sam.
Hmm.
And now, does your niece do you know was she coming to visit? Does she stay with you?
She had come. She's getting ready to move, so she's been coming over more frequently, and she was actually spending the night that night.
Okay, so you knew she was going to be coming home to spend the night.
Yep.
And so you knew who was in the car.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking these questions is because all of this stuff is context for everyone else. Your video is great, but there's not a lot of context to what led up to this and why they were even there and what was going on.
Yep.
Which, of course, is the way it goes with video. No one ever starts shooting video, ever. I'm like, we just don't, unless you're going out to actually do an audit, no one ever has their camera on at just the right time.
Yeah.
And so, Sam, you're watching this take place, and you and Nate have been together for what, 2-3 years now, if I understand correctly.
About a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened? Oh, about a year and a half. Okay. So you've been around Nate as he's kind of come awake to his rights and what people's rights are and what it's like to be trampled on. Did you pick up on the cop in the same light that Nate did, and did you read him the same way, or
I think so. I kind of had a feeling there was going to be a problem.
Approaching it from a different perspective of, hey, what could possibly, yeah. Did you know it was going to be a problem right away, or did you feel like, okay, maybe we're just reading this wrong? Or
no, I knew by his tone of voice and the way he was acting, it was going to be a problem.
Well, and I mean, you're not shy about it. You put it right in the bio that's included. You're a teacher, so you know a lot about tone of voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you use that tone, don't you, from once in a while?
I do.
Yeah,
I actually have students that are scared of me.
Oh, that's terrible. You should stop being scary. So, as you were watching all of this, I specifically noted a lot of the, hey, you don't have to answer questions other than, presenting ID. And your niece was the passenger. She was in the front seat, correct?
Yes.
You can't see that real well, as that, obviously from where you were standing, because, you had to keep your distance on your grass away from the concrete. But she was in the passenger side, away from you guys. She has what type of epilepsy? Is it a light sensitive epilepsy? Is it?
She has all sorts of different triggers.
Okay. And you made the cop aware of that, and he basically said, I don't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. I'll call EMS if I need to. And she had already expressed that the lights were starting to bother her, correct?
Yes. I could actually hear her telling me that the lights were bothering her. As I was telling her that she didn't have to say anything, she told me the lights were bothering her.
Now, is she, a fair assessment, is she the kind of, how old is she, 18?
20.
She's 20. As a 20-year-old, is she the kind of person that runs around provoking people intentionally? Or, I mean, no. And you could be honest, because I ask these kind of questions.
She's full of life, and everyone loves her. So
okay. So she's probably one of those that would be pretty laid back in a traffic stop situation.
Yeah, except for she's terrified.
Yeah, understandably so. Well, we'll just blame Nate. You just got everybody scared of cops now. So
yeah.
So I wonder why. So Mama Bear kind of comes out you a little bit, and you become very defensive for your niece. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, that's kind of like when you're talking and you're not really moving. There we go. You're moving around, but not really moving towards the officer, trying to talk to him and explain the situation, what's going on. And that's when he starts barking at you to get back. And he eventually tells you, if you so much as step on that pavement, and obviously this has gone on for a little while, if you so much as step on that pavement, I'm coming, or you're going to jail.
Yeah.
Were you having a moment in your, that petulant child moment? Well, let's push this. At some point, did you go, let's see how far we can take this? Because you stood there for quite a while and didn't move, but it was
No.
only when
It was when my son came home that all I could think was my son was going to get out of the truck and he was going to go after my son for interrupting his crime scene or whatever.
his traffic stop.
Yeah.
How, now how old's your son?
16.
So your son's 16. He was coming home like a responsible child, and he was getting dropped off in the area of the driveway.
Yeah.
Now, he, of course, walked right up to the car and started interfering.
Absolutely. No. He would not get out of the truck.
But you wanted him to be able to come in.
Yes.
And by this point, the backup officer had shown up.
Mm-hmm.
And the video clearly shows that you step onto the apron of the driveway, but head the opposite direction of where the actual traffic stop is taking place. And that was when you were taken into custody, correct?
Yes.
Yep. She made it on the video like very clear. You can see she tells the officer, "That's my son. I need to go get him." And he obviously tried to tell her no. And then she's like, "Your stop is that way. I'm going to go this way to get to him." And literally, because of where my car was in the garage, she went the furthest possible route around to try to get to her son.
So even though you were on private property, we'll address the other aspect of that. But even though you're on your own property, your own private property, you still went out of your way to be as compliant as possible while still watching out for your niece, but also trying to bring your son into the house and make him feel safe, protected, and whatnot. And this tyrant of a peon, of a small-brained individual, I said that out loud, immediately ordered you arrested.
Yep.
And of course, then you began to fight, right? You were like throwing punches and kicks.
No.
We've seen what happens with a little bit of resistance, and then definitely doesn't want that to happen.
And kept my mouth shut.
Yeah. Don't answer questions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't answer questions. Yeah. So was reality setting in for you at this time, Sam? Did you realize, okay, now I'm actually going to jail? What the hell is going on here? Or were you thinking, okay, this is a big overreaction. They're just going to handcuff me and they're going to let me go here in a few minutes?
Yeah. Every time a cop came towards the car, I was like, oh, they're going to let me out. But they didn't.
Psych.
Yeah.
I know that they took your phone and eventually gave it to you, correct, Nate? And the officer that was dealing with you was like, well, who are you to her? And you were explaining, like, that's my girlfriend. And he says, well, we wouldn't normally do this, but we'll let you take her phone. Go ahead, Sam.
They never even asked me if he could take my phone. They just took the phone.
You should sue him for that. They should have asked first. You never know what he might have deleted the video.
Yeah.
I was talking about Nate, not the cop. That's what I was going to ask, though, could you tell, did they try to monkey with the video at all? Because that's really notorious. A lot of times, as a person shooting video, when they arrest them, they'll grab the phone out of their hand and try to figure out a way to not only stop the video, but also to delete it. And so
they didn't do anything like that.
Okay. And this is going to be, Was this your first time in handcuffs, Sam? Is this like your first run in with cops? Okay. I kind of figured as a teacher this is not a normal everyday occurrence for you. But what were your feelings on a physical level? What were you feeling, and even psychologically, what were you feeling? Even though you were saying to yourself in the back of your mind, they're going to let me go here at any point. At some point, that somebody's going to come to some sort of reasonable decision that this is a bad idea. But what were you feeling physically? Was there anxiety? Was there fear?
I was
Did they put them? Go ahead.
I was definitely anxious, extremely uncomfortable, because I swear they put the handcuffs on as tight as they possibly could.
Yep, they do that.
And I was sitting there. I really thought that he was going to get me out of the back of the car.
I tried.
You thought Nate was going to be able to talk them into letting you go?
I tried, but yeah, they obviously cops-plaining it away.
Cops. You've been watching a lot of 1A videos, haven't you?
Yeah, every night.
Good old cops-plaining. So, Nate, you continued to engage with the backup officer, and at some point they even called their lieutenant, who of course was not helpful at all. And and you have the video of that up as well. And he at one point even said, "Well, if you're going to keep interrupting me, we're not going to have a conversation."
Yeah.
But he wasn't really trying to have a conversation. He was just cops-plaining as well.
Yeah, you could tell. From when I got to see him face to face walking towards me, I could already tell by his demeanor he did not care about what I had to say. He was just making an appearance. So,
not to make you more nervous, but Mom's watching. But you do have support here. Arresting a teacher and a mother at her home for watching the stop that they chose to make in her driveway. Yeah. So, Aubrey's here. I don't know who Aubrey is, but
that's my oldest daughter, who is the one who came and told us the police are outside.
Ah. So now your whole family's in the chat having an interesting chat, throwing me off my game. So, you guys keep talking. Make sure you're sharing this out. Somebody else joined the membership too, since you're all in here. Get in on it together. Follow Flex's example. But Nate, you're in interaction with two of these guys, and at one point you're talking to the backup officer, and you ask him, "Am I not on private property?" And his response is, "Well, yes, you are." And you're like, "Okay, well, since I'm on private property, why don't you leave? Get off my private property if you're not going to do your job." And his response was, "Are you everybody ready for this drum roll?" I need a soundboard. His response was
that my driveway, or our driveway, is public property.
Quasi. I'm pretty sure he says quasi public property, correct?
Yep.
And there you go. I don't know. BIP Solar Bear, BIP Solar Bear. Does it make a difference the stop was in the driveway? No, clearly not, because it's quasi. It's quasi public. I don't even know, for the love of God, what it means that it's quasi public property. And the irony of this is, and Flex will back me up on this, and others who've done this, Bailey will back me up on this. We get told all the time that actual public property is quasi-private. You can't film in some police. Bailey, who's down in Marion, Iowa, they're doing everything they can to keep people from filming in the police department now, because it's not public. I don't understand. Yeah. Do you really, when he said that to you, did you have any kind of response in you that, like, did you go, "What? Wait a minute, what did you just say?"
I was just appalled that, the whole situation and everything. I'm like, this is all classic, like everything I've seen. And he says that, and it's just like, wow, like I'm clearly not going to get anywhere.
By the way, I don't know what's happening. Do you guys get in storms over your neck of the woods?
Yeah, there's possible tornadoes or something again.
Yeah, you guys were having tornadoes that night too, because I heard you ask him. He says, you guys you don't have anything better to do? Like maybe go help with tornadoes or whatever? And the moron actually says, that's out of our jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's like 15 miles away from our house where the tornadoes destroyed other houses.
Yeah, it's completely not their concern.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, Solar Bear, thanks for the super chat, by the way. And so at that point, have you looked into, is there something in Minnesota code, or excuse me, in Nebraska code or Nebraska statutes that allows driveways to be considered quasi-public? Is it because is there reasoning it touches this public street? What? I don't understand.
I'm clueless on that one. I don't know what their reasoning would be.
I haven't been able to find anything like that. Like that would basically mean not only can you not kick the cop off of your property at that point, people can come play basketball or rollerblade in your driveway if they want to, and you can't do anything about it because it's quasi-public property.
Yep. Just make
if you guys could get any answer from a legal expert in Nebraska, whatever a legal expert in Nebraska is these days, I don't know. But if you could get somebody to quantify that for me, because I do a lot of research and study, and I do a lot of work, not with, but using the information that's put out there by the Institute for Justice. And those of you who don't know who the Institute for Justice is, you absolutely should be studying the information the Institute for Justice puts out. And they have like 4 different in-depth podcasts. And this season, they're actually, on one of theirs, they're covering the idea of open fields doctrine versus curtilage. And everything about your guys' property in that situation falls into curtilage. It's literally private property, according to court precedents. You literally can order cops off your property at pretty much any time. And now I know their argument's going to be, well, we're conducting this traffic stop. But there again, did he turn his lights on before she pulled into the driveway?
Nope. Watched her do it and then pulled up, locked them in, and then turned it on.
So now we're going to get to the hard part. The friend who was driving is an adult.
Yes.
And the friend was subsequently arrested as well. And that was ultimately due to, and you were telling me, Sam, prior to this, and we're not doing this to embarrass a friend. People make stupid decisions all the time. But she got arrested for an outstanding warrant, correct?
Yes. She missed a court date.
Okay. I was going to say, like, she's wanted for murder in, like, she robbed a bank in San Francisco. She's part of the Symbionese Liberation Army, and they've been looking for her since 1975 or what?
No, she just forgot about her court date. She's 20.
She's 20. Yeah. And it's probably for something really egregious like speeding or parking tickets, or
I'm not sure what it was for.
She was not volunteering that information. So did you guys get to ride to jail in the same car?
No.
Did you end up in the same detention center?
We were in the same detention center, but they would not let us speak to one another.
How long were you there?
Like 2.5, 3 hours by the time I got
there. Hey guys, look at this. I need your guys' backup here for just a second. Anson, a Minnesota Freedom Channel I'm not subscribed to. Should he subscribe?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And they should be subscribing to Flex and to Bailey's channel and to Nate's channel. I mean, obviously Sam's the star on Nate's channel, but everybody's Sam, this is why I wanted people to be able to do this. Sam and Nate, I was impressed with how calm you both were, honestly. I believe it will work in your favor when a jury sees later. I love that, Bailey's seeing this and saying these things, and other people have talked about this. I wish I could have the same kind of positivity, but I know that you guys are struggling with some of the positivity as well, because you have started a fundraiser for your court date and to help cover some of the legal expenses and the like. And we're going to show that right now. Tell us a little bit about what you're looking at, and then we're going to touch on the last bit of the arrests that were made and some of the reasoning that was given. So this is your guys' GoFundMe. And you're trying to raise $10,000 to cover legal expenses, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you thinking that they're going to, are you getting any kind of hints or any kind of indications that they are going to go ahead and continue to pursue this? Have you procured a public defender? What's the situation here?
Yes.
Obviously, you've been to arraignments already.
We did get an attorney. He sounds pretty confident about, I guess, being able to, at least should be able to get her charge thrown out.
Okay.
But again, he's also says that because it's so public, it's either going to be one of two ways. They're going to dig in and try to save their officers, or it's going to be throw the officers under the bus and wait till the last minute and come to us with something to try to get us to throw it out, not pursue this.
Right. So if you guys haven't yet, Nathan Haywood and Samantha Eason are organizing this fundraiser. It's for your legal defense. They can find the link in the description of this video. I would strongly encourage everyone to go after the show and give whatever you can give and share it out to other people. It's just, that's how important this is. I said on a panel yesterday with the Angry Vet that one of the things that we need to be doing, and because I know what's happened here, is that this situation has accidentally created, for lack of better terminology, has created probably a little bit of a rebel streak now for sure in Sam, with maybe with maybe a little bit of, I'm going to film every cop everywhere I go from now on all the time.
Well, he already had me doing that, so.
No, but I mean now it's kind of personal.
Yeah.
And we really need to be watching out for one another in these situations. And so if every person who watches this through Flex, every person who watches this through Brian over at Here's the Deal, and I don't know how many others have covered this or looked at it. I know there are others that have and are talking about it within the community. Lots of people who have channels, auditing channels, breakdown channels, and whatnot are covering this and talking about this. If every person that watched that video just gave $1, you guys would be blessed to be able to cover your legal defense and maybe help somebody else as well.
Yep.
If they come to you and offer you a plea deal, Sam, and say, look, I didn't even get to finish the question.
I didn't do anything wrong.
You guys, not only is Flex in the chat, well, he was here. I don't know if he's still around, but not only was Flex here, but I don't know if you guys know who it is, but Direct D is here.
Yep, I watched him a lot.
So I love Direct D. Direct, thanks for stopping in. So no plea deal. Even if it means you get convicted and you have to do jail time.
I'm not taking a plea.
Not taking a plea. You stand on that right here and right now.
Sure do.
Okay.
He can figure it out with the 7 kids.
You know what? Actually, a conviction might be a good break.
Yeah.
So you're an engineer, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, wait. No one wants you managing children, sir.
Yeah.
So one of the things that, and everybody knows this, law enforcement loves to throw out at a traffic stop, we can search this vehicle with or without your permission because I smell marijuana. Now, Nebraska hasn't gotten with the game yet, and they have not, if I understand correctly, Nebraska has not yet decriminalized or legalized the use of cannabis in the state, correct?
Right.
I'm sure at some level THC drinks and things like that and edibles are probably legal because they seem to be legal pretty much everywhere now. But actual cannabis, whether it be smoking or oils or anything like that, are not legal. And they swore up and down that they could smell marijuana.
Yep.
And maybe one of the funniest moments, it was the most flexiest of moments. You said, so if I fart, he could have me arrested for farting and covering up the smell of weed. Now, are you guys familiar with weed at all? You don't have to admit to anything currently, but are you familiar with weed at all?
Yeah, I mean, I
Yep.
teach in North Omaha.
Oh, jeez. It's not weed in North Omaha. It's like crack and meth. and those are the decent people.
No, if you smelled some of my students, you would
Smell
be outside.
You need weed to just get to school safely in North Omaha. It's the only way to be chill enough. I grew up 50 miles from Omaha. We know. Could you smell marijuana emanating from the vehicle at that time?
No.
No, because both officers swore they could smell it.
Yep.
But see, what you guys don't know is that officers are actually, they receive a transplant when they're hired.
Yeah.
They are given the noses of very well-trained dogs that have passed in the line of duty, and they give every officer, you're not buying this, are you? No. So the irony is, and Nate or Sam, you could tell me this, they arrest you, Sam. They arrest the driver on an outstanding warrant. They arrest you for obstruction, which, of course, nothing you did actually even meets the definition of obstruction according to Nebraska's code. I looked it up. And then they find no weed.
None.
Nothing.
None at all.
Nope.
So we talked, so just so you guys know, we talked about this a little bit earlier before the show started. The irony of this is that's the excuse that they use every time. That's all they ever do. Oh, I could smell weed. I smell the odor of alcohol. I smell the odor of weed. And they use that as justification to either con you into consenting to a search, which at that time I don't think the driver gave any consent at all to a search, correct?
Nothing that we're aware of.
And your niece certainly wasn't consenting to any searches.
No.
And they actually detained her as well because, to quote the other officer, the backup officer, well, we don't know which one of them has the weed, so we have to make sure.
Yeah. That's bogus.
Yeah. Don't mind me, I'm switching to shilling my own merchandise now. But they never did. They never did find any weed. They never did make an arrest or a charge on the weed at all. So ultimately, you got arrested in your own driveway on private property. You did not advance on the traffic stop. There was no weed that allowed them to extend the stop as long as they did. You did nothing at all by way of interfering or obstructing the officer in doing his job. In fact, the argument could be made that the only person delaying the traffic stop was the officer with his bad attitude.
Yeah.
have there been people contacting you guys about how all of this played out? And what? And I know people have contacted you. Obviously, I did. But what kind of feedback are you getting from people locally who have seen this through Facebook? What are you getting from
We're
strangers out there on the interwebs?
we're getting a lot of support. Yeah, so I want to thank all of you guys here now and shared the video. Uh, I know that when we, after I guess Here's the Deal, shared the first video, ended up finding out that the Bellevue police station had been getting so many calls and everything that they like stopped answering the phone.
Wait, wait.
They closed down.
They stopped answering the freaking phone?
Yep.
They called me on Monday and left a voicemail saying that I had quite a few friends and family call in to complain and to please let them know it was under investigation and to stop calling.
Yeah. Other than that,
so there's something else too. People have been going to the Bellevue, Nebraska Police Department Facebook page and commenting, correct?
Yep. They right off the bat, same thing. Along with calling people making complaints, they went and started commenting on just random posts of the police department there, and they shut their Facebook down for a while, deleted all the comments, put it back up, and then people started commenting again. And just today, I realized that became aware that they turned around and deleted hundreds of more comments.
And we actually have proof of that for people to see. And I mean, not that we need proof, but we do have.
Yeah, a lot of people in the comments too, reading them because they went through the first round of deleting them. So everybody's like, well, there was just a court case on this.
Is that showing for you guys? Can you see it on the screen?
Yep.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, so a lot of people were screenshotting. I know there's many more that probably have screenshots on this.
So you just screenshot this actually about 13 minutes before we came on air. And it shows people hearing this. John Goldstein saying deleting comments or banning people for petitioning their government for redress of grievances is a violation of the First Amendment.
Yep.
Screenshots of comments will be taken as proof. Folks, I would strongly encourage you, all of you, to go, and I know that Nate and Samantha would back me up on this. You go, comment, let them know how you feel about this, screenshot your comment, and then check back in. Now, when you comment, keep it civil, keep it... You don't have to be polite per se, because everybody's definition of politeness and civility to some degree is very amorphous. Everybody's idea of what's civil and polite is different, but we don't need to be making comments about we're going to show up down there. We're not, we don't need any of that.
No.
But we do need people to be reaching out and sharing their frustrations and demanding a resolution to this situation that benefits Sam and Nate. And go to their complaint page. In fact, Ember Byrne just said, or go to their complaint page. Officers don't run the social media pages. But the problem, Amber Burton, and I agree with you on this absolutely, that they should be doing the complaints as well. The problem is that the social media is where we're running into First Amendment violations, and this is a huge deal. Because I did hear people commenting on this to some degree. Oh, it's illegal for them. Oh, hey. Thank you for the next super chat, for the second super chat. Man, I got a membership already tonight, and now I got 2 super chats from Solar Bear. They've already deleted or hidden somehow the comment by John since we started. Thank you for doing the investigatory work on that, by the way. So, excuse me. It's asinine is what it is. This is sheer asinine behavior. And I want people to understand it is not illegal. There's a difference between illegality and a violation of a civil nature. And everybody who's had a comment deleted, Facebook can tell you where you've commented. And those comments that have been hidden or deleted, though, when by a public entity, that enters into to a civil realm. And you have grounds to sue this agency. And I know a lot of people would say, well, why would you do that? Why would you want to sue an agency when that comes out of the taxpayer's pocket? And I'm going to give a little bit of just a tiny smidgen of background in my situation. Having spent almost 13 years working for a local law enforcement agency and being offered a settlement when they decided to come after me for doing content like this, and they tried to terminate me, and they realized they were going to get their asses handed to them, they started to make overtures of a payment of a offer to go away, and I knew I couldn't go back to work. And one of the arguments that I made to myself philosophically is why would I want to make the people of Olmsted County, the county that I worked for, why would I want to make the taxpayers of Olmsted County, the tax slaves of Olmsted County, why would I want to make them pay for this? I have now realized the only way any of this changes is if the taxpayers have to start paying the bill. Whether we like it or not, if the taxpayers really do have to start paying the bill, and this starts to happen to the tune of $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 or more per incident, then we're going to start seeing some change because the taxpayers are going to demand it. But right now, between qualified immunity, which needs to be abolished, and the fact that the taxpayers are always on the hook because of qualified immunity, the only way any of this changes is if the taxpayers have to pay out to Sam and Nate for this situation, have to pay out to all the people that are going to the Bellevue, Nebraska Police Department's Facebook page and having their comments removed. I would strongly encourage every single person who's had a comment deleted to reach out to an attorney to have to start to look at what it would cost or what it would look like to have this brought to a civil court. And at the very least, reach out to FIRE, which is a free speech First Amendment organization, or reach out to the Institute for Justice. They handle things like this constantly. In fact, I would actually encourage you guys to also reach out to the Institute for Justice. I'm sure there's somebody in the Omaha area that works with them. But so Sam, you're not going to take a deal.
No.
Nate, you're not planning on going away anywhere soon through all of this. You're going to stand by your woman. Am I allowed to say that these days? Can I say that these days? Can I say stand by your woman? Nate, you started to come awake. You told me in a text message that you started to come awake in these situations in about 2020 because you were kind of going through some crap in a personal situation. There was an end of a relationship, children involved, and some pretty shady things were done through that breakup where law enforcement was involved and helped the person who you were separating from, correct?
Yep.
Without going into personal detail, what was it about that situation that woke you up and made you decide to start digging into this?
Basically, up until then, I had never, I was just another person, didn't have a view either way on the police. Never called them, never had them called on me. And the situation I ended up getting into, I basically was being tormented, stalked, like it was pretty bad. And to the point to where when I came home every night, I had to go through my house and clear each room to make sure nobody was in there. And I had, video, things like this, multiple calls to the police, telling them, hey, I got video proof that this person's doing this. And they didn't care. Take it up with the court. And it got so bad that I ended up having to come to a deal with my ex of my kids. And she actually moved away out to Des Moines. And it basically was let her move with the kids or she's going to take them completely. And that's that really got to me there. And it's ever since then I kind of started getting into these YouTube videos. And
isn't it funny the things that'll launch people into this?
Yeah.
So you went from being kind of a normie to, not really having any opinion one way or another about the situations involving law enforcement, thinking, hey, look, as long as I'm doing my thing, following the laws and doing all the right stuff, they're going to back me up because they're public servants. And you learn very quickly that if they're not interested in helping, they're just not going to help. To then basically being railroaded by a system that should have been defending you because you were having stalking issues going on. Like, you were clearing your house. Are we talking like coming home from work with a gun and going room to room to room?
That's correct. Yes. Like, the person who, I guess it wasn't, just to be clear, it wasn't my kids' mom who was doing the stalking. It was another person. And that's who ultimately, I think her and the kids' mom got together and kind of teamed up on me. But anyway, yeah, I was coming home and clearing with a gun to make sure that there was nobody in the house because this person had the key to the house, had everything. The cops let this person take my social security card, passport, everything, and it was bad.
Solar Bear asked a great cheeky question, but serious at the same time. Do I have to ask Bellevue PD for permission to walk on my driveway now? Can I do a public records on all their feelings-based laws that they made up? Once again, thanks for the super chat, Solar Bear. It's as you're going through all of this, you meet Sam, and then you infect her with the mind bug of liberty.
Yeah.
Sam, where were you prior to meeting Nate? And I don't mean location, geography wise, but where were you in all of this? Were you just kind of the same way? Hey, cops are on our side. They're always going to do the right thing. They're going to protect us. I mean, you work obviously in an environment where there are resource officers nearby all the time.
No, I've never been like really vocal about it or anything, but for probably like the last 8 or 9 years, I've been pretty skeptical of police. So I mentioned that my niece is terrified of cops, and she's terrified because in Florida they actually killed her father. So when that happens, my eyes were kind of open. And then my son had his own...
I did not need to hear that tonight. Good Lord.
My son had his own run-in in 2020, 2021, where there was an issue in the household, which is why...
You're 16-year-old?
Mm-hmm. Why I'm no longer with their dad, but they did nothing about that when there was very clearly some reason to take action, and they didn't.
So let me ask you this question. So neither one of you had you didn't have a personal history of law breaking and, arrests and all of this. Obviously you're a teacher, Nate, you're an engineer. You guys didn't have this big, long history. I mean, there again, like juvenile stuff, we all do a lot of stupid things for juveniles, but you were an angel, right? Where did you grow up?
Florida.
Liar. There's a reason why it's called Florida Man and Florida Woman. I just want everyone to be a liar. Which part of Florida?
St. Petersburg, right by Tampa.
Yeah, no, there's no way you were an angel. Not that close to the water. So, but you weren't out there, slinging, heroin and illegal Cuban cigars and all of that stuff. And Nate, you grew up in Council Bluffs, which is just criminal by itself.
Yeah.
Which high school did you go to?
Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, good God!
I know, right?
That's almost as bad as Lewis Central. Inside baseball, there, folks. So you guys just really didn't have a reason to have a personal vendetta against law enforcement. You weren't constantly being, harassed throughout all your lives. You did have a couple of situations, One of them obviously very serious. Actually, both kind of serious. Now, philosophically, on a political spectrum, would you consider yourselves more left, right, more centrist compared to? Because Sam, let's be honest. Everybody kind of comes at it and looks at, oh, she's a teacher. She must, be some sort of like tree hugging, bunny lover, granola munching.
I keep my own personal views to myself when it comes to all my teacher friends.
Sure, absolutely.
Because we definitely do not see eye to eye.
Oh, see, so you proved my point. There is this kind of this trope that teachers tend to fall a little bit further to the left on a particular political spectrum. And the ones that don't, even if they're centrist, do tend to keep that to themselves.
Yeah, we just keep our mouth shut.
Right. Nate, where were you on the political spectrum? Would you have fallen into the camp of back the blue at all costs?
Person that basically everyone has their own views. They're entitled to their own opinion. What you want to do with your life, as long as it doesn't affect me personally and you're not trying to impose it on me, do whatever you want. That's
you're a libertarian,
right? And then on the other side of it, I do like guns. And the second
you are damn sure a libertarian.
Yeah.
I will find the Libertarian Party people in Omaha. We will get you connected.
All right.
So the reason I asked that question is that you guys are not the quintessential ACAB, all cops are bad people in your history. Historically, where you come from philosophically, you're not those people. You're not the kind of people that were out there marching during the Summer of Love and rioting during the Summer of Love because all cops are bastards and on and on and on. In fact, you probably came from either a very neutral, probably leaned a little bit more supportive to law enforcement based on where you were philosophically, to now having this view of cops are out of control.
Yep.
And Sam, you clearly have some very personal reasons for why you feel that way. And I don't mean just going back to your arrest, but leading up to that, you have some very personal reasons for why you feel that way. And the reason I'm asking these questions of you is because I want people to understand that when a person comes to the place where you guys have arrived, Sam, unfortunately for you, you met Nate, and I say that good-naturedly. Unfortunately for you, you meet Nate, who's now on fire for understanding our natural rights, understanding the Constitution, understanding the Bill of Rights. He's probably dropping these nuggets like, hey, did you watch this video? Have you seen this video? Like, he did that, didn't he? He did that, right?
He doesn't really give me an option.
He didn't give you...
It's on the TV, so... And if I would even pick up my phone to look at Facebook or Snapchat or TikTok or anything, what are you doing?
There's a video on.
This video's on. You have to watch this.
You know how you defeat that, right? Here's how you defeat it. You download TikTok and you watch pimple porn.
No.
He will leave you alone. I can attest to that. It people so, but here you guys are, and obviously, Sam, you're far more. I could tell you're a little bit more reserved. I know Nate says he's also reserved, but you're a little bit more reserved. I can see it in how you address questions. I can see it in the thoughtfulness of how you even approach answering the question. But has this fired you guys up more now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just the fact, you could hear it in my voice when I was on the video. I was just completely appalled that this is happening to us.
I mean, I had my younger two kids that weekend, and to come home, and my son has autism, and so he doesn't really, everything is literal to him. And he was asleep when I got home. So when I got up the next morning, he literally greeted me in the kitchen and said, "Mommy, you're home from jail. I missed you so much. I'm so glad you're home." He thought I spent the night in jail.
Well, 3 hours is enough.
Yeah, it was plenty.
Yep.
But
I've seen people incarcerated just waiting to go to trial for a lot longer.
having to explain to our children, why
Yeah.
were you arrested? Why did they take you to jail?
Yeah, that
Because
was
mommy's a bad person.
There is no
Um,
reason.
Have you been arraigned officially
No, I have court at the end of May.
at the end of May? Well, what do you know what that's for?
talking to the attorney the other day. He said nothing's been officially charged
Okay.
to us yet. They
Wait a minute. So you had to pay a bond.
Yeah.
How much was your bond?
So it was 5,000, which ended up paying 500 to get her out.
Right, you did a 10% through a bond agent. Yep.
Yep.
Don't skip out on that, by the way.
Yeah.
No. We need that money. Did you hear the
Yeah.
part about 7 kids?
And you teach,
Yeah.
and you got to feed the guy next to you, which is not. I can just tell he eats like a horse.
He's a picky eater.
Yeah.
So you got this $5,000 bond hanging over your head, but there's not been an official charge yet.
Yep. That's from what the attorney explained to us, that what they wrote on the report is obstruction, but once I believe he said, like, the prosecutor examines it, they'll decide if they just want obstruction, if they want to throw it out. He said they could even add more stuff to it to officially charge with.
So here's what they're going to do: is they're going to throw a bunch. They're going to either toss it completely, or they're going to throw a bunch of stuff at you, in hopes of getting you to take a plea deal for the smallest thing. I'm not going to give you legal advice. That's between you and your attorney.
My attorney even told me that there was no reason for a plea deal.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm not going to give legal advice. That's between you and your attorney. I'm just very glad to hear you say no, and we're going to fight this garbage, no matter what the outcome might be. Just be prepared that they will push for a conviction, and they will stack the jury as much as they possibly can. And you definitely need to make sure that your attorney is aware of all of the court cases about filming in public, being on your private property, and all of that stuff. And then also make sure you're reaching out to places like Institute for Justice and others. As you look at this, how much of an impact would it have on your guys' life if we could put a group of people together to come down for 3-4 days to show up to Bellevue and picket outside of the Bellevue Police Department headquarters?
I think that would be awesome. So that way they know that they're not gonna be able to shove this under the rug, like I'm sure they're hoping. Let them know that the public is on our side. That's the only way anything's gonna get done, is with the help of everybody.
So what I'm going to promise right now, in as much as I have the ability to promise anything, because obviously I don't control the world, but if anybody's interested and they're within a decent drive, I'm only 5 hours away. That for me is like driving to northern Minnesota. So, I mean, it's an hour less than driving to northern Minnesota. And I would love to go see the Henry Dorley Zoo again. Best zoo in the world. But anyway, and I wouldn't mind going to the old market. But either way, if there's anybody who is interested in showing up for a couple of days, like say a Thursday into a Saturday, and they're interested in going, I will help coordinate and organize a protest, peaceable assembly for a redress of grievances to gather around the Bellevue, Nebraska Police Department. And is that Douglas County?
Sarpy.
Sarby. And maybe even the Sarby County Courthouse, to make sure everybody's voice is heard. And I can, guarantee you that we can get Sam and Nate to set up a separate email. I'm putting them on the spot right now. I guarantee you that we can get Sam and Nate to set up a separate email to help us coordinate that if they would like, if anybody's interested in doing that. So, And you said yourselves that it would be very helpful. You think it, and you know what? Even if it doesn't change anybody's mind in the state apparatus, uh, it sure would feel good, wouldn't it? Because we did it for Flex.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
about 20 people, 12 to 20 people show up for Flex. So, folks, let's see if we can put that together. Because I know there's a lot of very robust, liberty-minded people who are watching this and are going to watch it on playback. And once again, if you guys are watching, please share it right now. If they got somebody who wants to come in and say hi, that's fine.
Come
Tell-
on,
just-
All
Aubrey.
right, here she comes.
Is that Aubrey?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know I want to see the face since she was. Hi, Aubrey.
Hi.
Are you proud? Are you proud of Mom?
What?
Are you proud of Mom?
I'm not mom.
Not yet.
Oh, well.
What do you mean not yet?
Are you proud? I bet she calls you Mom.
No,
No, Aubrey, get with it. Come on.
I can't.
I can't. She says.
Weird.
Well, thanks for letting them know the cops were in the driveway that night. You're probably going to want to set a watch to make sure that somebody's always watching the driveway now. and remind your dad to change the batteries on the cameras on a regular basis.
Your dad.
Yep.
But as I was saying, if we can get it from Flex, let's see if we can put something together. And if we can get a decent amount of people willing to show up, I will make the 5-hour drive down to Omaha for a day and a night to come down and take part in that. Shoot video and talk to people on scene and even maybe show up to speak at a city council meeting if you guys wanted to do something like that. If we can coordinate it around a city council meeting, that'd be even better. So that it means that much to me. And I'm really inspired. Everybody in the chat that's talked about it they're very inspired by what you guys have done and what you've exposed here. And you have a ally and a friend in me for sure. As much as you got Flex and you got Brian from, Here's the Deal, and you got Bailey and you got Direct D, and now Brandon Mitchell's watching. You got Robert Johnson from Minneapolis, St. Paul watching. I guarantee you that you've inspired a lot of people, and you've shined light onto a situation that more and more people who would consider themselves on the right side of the political spectrum are coming to understand. And people on the left side of the political spectrum are starting to understand it's not just about ethnicity. It's not just about white versus black or anything like that. It's literally about an out-of-hand system. And that's why I said what I said at the opening before I brought you guys on. Even Christian, supposedly conservative Christian churches are really starting to backtrack a little bit on the back the blue scenario. And I think that's a good thing because it really does represent the idea of the founding fathers being against a standing army, and law enforcement has become the standing army that they warned us about. And you guys have run afoul of that. I know that you guys got to get to bed because I know I'm weird. I only go on about 5 hours of sleep before I go and work in my warehouse job every day. Nate, I know that you had some deeply profound philosophical things that you wanted to say tonight as you think back on what's played out over the last couple of weeks, and you wanted to delve into that at the end of your guys' time. And so I'm gonna give the floor to you and let you say those things that you wanted to say. So Nate, go ahead.
Okay, so one thing that really got to me during this whole thing when I was taking video, I believe you mentioned it earlier, the cop asked, "Is this your girlfriend, your wife? Who is she to you?" And you can see in the video, I had to pause. Like, it went through my mind. I'm like, why isn't this my wife? Look what she's doing. And so, with that being said, Sam, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me, please?
Yes. Is this for real?
Yeah.
Is that why you came up here?
Now I'll know what the answer is next time the cops ask what she is to me. She's amazing. She's been there to support me through all my YouTube binging every night and everything when everyone else thinks I'm crazy watching so many videos. She's been there for me through everything, so
I love you.
love you too.
I've done a lot of episodes. I've never had anybody propose on one of my shows. Nate asked me about this the other day. And so I was like, and he'll attest to this. I've said, sure. Are you sure she'll say yes? So and he didn't say she better. He was very confident. And then he said there might even be tears. So I was tearing up because I knew what was coming. And so we got so many people right now. Brandon Mitchell says, "Oh, obviously." Solar Bear says, "Woohoo, that's awesome." Lisa Haywood says, "No shock, you made a good choice, Nathan."
It didn't take him 3 years.
It did take him 3 years. Emily says, I don't know if you guys know Emily, but Emily says congratulations.
Yep.
Bob, who is a very good veteran friend of mine, says congratulations. And Bailey says, didn't expect that. Congrats. And Evil Shoes says, may God bless your union. Folks, make no mistake. The proposal is getting clipped out for a short. So congratulations, guys. Nate, you're a lucky man. She's got spine and she's got backbone, and she was willing to take an arrest. And that to me is by far says a lot about her character. And it says a lot about you guys as a team going forward. Like, you're not out there throwing wild drug-laden binges on the weekends. You both have stated that you're very much keep to yourself kind of people. And I got to be honest with you, I love to see people like you come awake, because when people like you come awake, it is a powerful it's a powerful commentary on where we are as a society. Robert Johnson from Minneapolis, St. Paul from the Twin Cities says congratulations. And Evil Shoe says you have real moxie. And that's true. And jailbirds to lovebirds, says Bailey, and Bailey has quite the sense of humor. And she's dealing, if you guys don't know, follow Bailey. She's got a phenomenal channel where she's covering corruption in Marion, Iowa. And I'm going to be having her on in the next few weeks to talk about her situation. So, guys, I know you need to get to bed, and there's some celebrating that probably needs to happen, but you're on bond right now, so you probably can't do any real celebrating. So, but I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate the fact that you kind of came in to talk about how about the kind of the philosophy and the emotional aspects of it. And Nate, honestly, thanks for sharing the moment with us. And it takes a lot of cojones, honestly, to propose in public, like, in a very public forum like this, because she could have been like, "Are you kidding me? You got me arrested, jackass." So now I expect to be kept abreast of the plans. So you can't just use me.
Rudy, go get this done ASAP before he changes his mind.
I don't think that'll be happening. Trust me. So he even asked me again today, "Are you sure it's okay if I do this?" So I just didn't. I had to keep this to myself. I'm like, we got a big announcement.
She had
You made up all sorts of stuff.
I posted it on Facebook saying there'd be a special announcement, and she's seen it and was like, what is the announcement? I'm like, somebody did a bunch of research into the cop and found all his past crimes and things like that. And
well, it's probably good that I announced memberships on my channel tonight then. So, and speaking of which, if you guys haven't yet, Flex beat y'all to it. Flex was my first membership, as far as I can tell. So the rest of you need to follow Flex. Follow Flex. If you have not followed Flex, follow Flex now and become a member of the channel. Every little bit helps. And trust me, when you look at the support levels that I have on the channel, I will, I'm literally doing that so I can continue to do what I do by helping a lot of people. So you guys go get out of here. I'm going to do my close. Congratulations. Samantha, thank you for not embarrassing him on live video. Or you know what? Maybe it would have been, it might have made for a better short. But I promise you, if we can put a group together to get down there, I will come down and take part. Because I might come down there on my own, but it'll look really funny if it's just me standing there. So
I'll be there with you.
Yep. I've had a few.
No, you'll be inside. But I'll gladly come down and help with a day or two of that. So thank you so much for taking a stand and doing the right thing and fighting for liberty. I really appreciate it. So you guys go get out here and go spread the word now, so that the family in the house knows.
Yeah.
Go tell the kids. So,
All right,
thank you very much.
Thank
Take
you.
care and keep me posted on how things are going.
We will.
Oh, Midwest Accountability missed it. Yes, Midwest Accountability. Nathan proposed to Samantha live on stream, and she said yes. So, this could have been a really bad deal for Nathan. So, all right, guys. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thanks.
Oh, folks, seriously, this is why there's so much about why my channel exists. It's to tell stories like Nathan and Samantha's. It's to tell stories. I want to get Flex on. I want to have Flex on to talk about his situation. I want to get Bailey has given me word when she's in the right place. She's going to come on and tell her story. But I've been telling people stories from the very first day of my channel. The very first day that I launched this channel, I went out and I interviewed and did man on the street interviews during the COOF 2020. Think about that particular thing happening in 2020. I went out and I interviewed people in the streets at protests against the lockdowns, against the shutdowns. I interviewed them and I put those up. I've been doing this for over 4 years now. It's the stories that matter to me. It's absolutely the stories that matter. Because behind every single person that's saying no to the infringing upon our personal autonomy, it's every single person that's saying no to the tyranny of the state. It's every single person that's saying no to the overreach by their city state or their county state or the state or the federal state or the school board state, and the badged enforcers that do all of that work for them, that enforce all of these policies, that enforce their feelings, that enforce codes and ordinances and laws and statutes that fly in the face of our constitutionally enshrined natural rights. Behind all of those people that are willing to do that, there's a story. There's a human being that is doing what they're doing for a reason. And every single time we tell one of these stories, every time we talk about a Bailey, every time we talk about a Samantha and a Nate, every time we talk about a Kevin from the Angry Vet, every time we hit somebody like Flex, or people that are affiliated now with BCNN or Midwest Accountability, and we got Evil Shoes who's in the chat. People like this, people who make these, who take the time to go out and share information. Every single one of these people matters, and they can have impact that all of the, and I'm not knocking any of the big platforms. Like, folks, if I could have 10% of what Flex has, if I could have 10% of what Flex has, I would take it. If I could have 5% of what Brian from Here's the Deal or Sean from Long Island Audits, or what, Dale from Lackluster, if I could have just 10% or 5% of what they have for viewers or for subscribers, I'd take it. But it's not about that for me. What it's about for me is the sacrifice of so many of you who do this every day, day in and day out, with no notice. No one knows. That's why I do what I do. In the early days of this country, before we were a republic, before we were a nation, before we were a union of states, a republic of independent sovereign states, before those 13 colonies became the 13 original states, no one wanted to fight that war with Great Britain. No one. But 3%. And those 3%, just look, the next time you walk into Walmart, God forbid, your local grocery store, your Home Depot, whatever it is. Let's say there's 100, let's say there's 300 people in there. 3% of that 300 people would be 30 people who you could impact just by being vocal. And I don't mean standing in the middle of the grocery store screaming about liberty but that's 3%. 3% of the people living in the colonies before the start of the War for Independence changed the face of the world. It's not the TCs from MBRR that make a difference. It's, as much as I respect some of these big channels that are out there, they're not the ones that are going to make the difference. The ones that are going to make the difference are the Midwest Accountability, who said, I wish I had more time to do this, too busy running food around the country. No, you're not. You're making an impact, because I know, Midwest, that you have these conversations with people. It's the Brandon Mitchells. It's the Baileys. It's the Evil Shoes. It's the Bob Seiferts. It's the Solar Bears. And it is the Flexes, and it is the Bryants from the Here's the Deal. But it's the people, the unknowns, the unrecognized, the people who are never going to have a channel, or the ones that do have a channel that never get any traction. They don't even get 500 subscribers, but they're still the ones that are making the impact. And that's why I do this. Because you guys deserve to have your voices heard. So that 3% turns into 30, turns into 50, turns into 60, and we finally make a difference. Because the 3% that are willing to sacrifice and lose it all, who are willing to go to jail, who are willing to lose careers, who are willing to lose everything they fought for and everything that they worked for, everything that they've worked and paid for to have the home, to have the car, those that are willing to sacrifice all of that and lay it aside so that we could keep fighting for liberty in this republic. Those are the ones that deserve to have their voices heard. And that's why guys like Brian from Here's the Deal tell these stories. That's why Lackluster tells these stories. That's why Recognizing Our Rights tells these stories. That's why Flex is telling people stories. That's why BCNN is telling these people stories and bringing people into the circle. But don't think you have to be one of them to tell what you're doing. Don't think that you have to be one of them to have an impact, because you don't. Because you can have the impact with your neighbor and your coworkers and your family members, and you can have that impact by showing up to city council meetings, and you can have that impact by finding people in your county commissions who align with you philosophically and in telling them it doesn't matter. How many people on the city council back you up, or how many people on the county commission back you up? I back you up, and I will bring a whole goddamn bunch of people with me to back you up. That's what matters. That's what matters. So if you have a story to tell and you want to tell it, come to me. I will tell your story. And if I can, I will come help you. I will come help you. Sarah says, absolutely right, TC. Local matters, unity matters. Sarah attests to you the number of hours and miles I've driven to go help her in her region. I will help. I'll tell your story. I will bring you on to talk about it. I will, if I can, if it's feasible, I will drive to where you are. That's how I met Bailey. That's how much this matters to me. That's how important this is. And I know it's important because every single person watching is doing this in their own way, their own shape, and their own form. And Brandon Mitchell says, I wouldn't have the sub count I have without the armed fisherman. He is an amazing person. You're absolutely right, Brandon. And that's why I share stories, because I'm tiny. I'm a no one. I'm a no one. I felt awkward even putting up memberships. I just feel awkward putting memberships up on my channel. But I want to be able to continue to do more. And I will sacrifice. The Midwest says, that's part of the reason I meet up with anyone I can on my travels from Bakersfield, California to Austin, Texas, and up to Gillette, Wyoming. Exactly. Anything that you can do. We don't have to look at the region and say, oh, I don't live over there. We can help people connect. And that's, once again, why I do what I do. And don't get me wrong, I'd love more memberships. Oh. I would love, more than anything, to see us get united and start helping each other in connecting regions. So, folks, please share this out. Tell people to come in and send a super thank you if they like what they're seeing. Tell people to, pick a level of support either through my Subscribe Star or through my memberships here on the channel. But more than anything, share this out and let's get the information that's needed for Samantha and Nate for their fight going forward. And if you're interested, email me, mbrrpodcast@yahoo.com. Let's put together some people to show up at a time that works best for Nathan and Samantha to have their voice heard. If we could travel, let's make our voices heard in Bellevue, Nebraska. And if you live between Southeast Minnesota and Bellevue, Nebraska, and you say, yeah, I want to go, but I can't drive, I'll meet you somewhere and you can ride with me. Might make you help pay for gas, but I'll do what I can. So let's make this happen. Let's make this happen. My friend Monica, I point at this every time because it's how much it means to me. My friend Monica made this for me after watching for pretty much from the beginning of the channel. She's a fan, a subscriber. She's a friend, an ally in the fight. This is how I end all of my shows. Fight for your liberty. It is yours. Fight for your freedom because it belongs to you. Thank you for tuning in. share this out if you haven't yet subscribed. And until next time, which by the way is tomorrow, at about 5 p.m. Central for another Drive Time Dialectic. Till next time, Sic Semper, Tyrannus. I love you guys.
We are going for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.